So the most common question that I'll get is how many pieces do I need to print off in order to be able to make a full set to be able to play Zombicide? And we basically at the end of the process doing the tile toppers for the original Starcrawler, we ended up doing these guides to kind of figure that out and also show how you needed to put them together. And these guides are just basically based off the maps that you have on the missions in the back of the book. Right, so you have your map missions here like this, and sort of reproduce them here. So as you can see here, this shows us there'll be a legend that kind of comes with this, but there's a 3x3 tile here with a 3x1 with a solid wall on the outside, and then these are doors here. These represent doors where you have a black, the two black bits of the white bit, because it kind of looks a little bit like the top of a door piece here. From top down, to try to make them look sort of more like the pieces they are. And you can see we have walls here that would be they'd be solid walls, but this is where you would have ones that have details for the security room if you want to have more thematics, and then you know which color tiles to put down as well too. So this gives us a list of all the tiles that are required, and all of the walls and tiles and corner pieces that are required in order to be able to build this particular map. We'll do this for all the maps that are in the game. It's a little bit of work to do, but it gives you the sort of peace of mind of knowing that you have printed out the right number of pieces, and also it gives you a guide for how to assemble it. And how we create those is I create them in Adobe Illustrator, and we start off with this basically with the map and the four tiles. I have scans of the tiles, and then basically lay them all out, and this is sort of the guide of what we're gonna work with. And then we're going to put the shapes on top, and we're going to end up with something like this. And the goal here is to fit this particular map onto under a 2-foot by 3-foot playing surface. And like for me, I use a neoprene mat that's 3-foot by 3-foot because that's the biggest tile. So our game maps come in just slightly under that playing surface. It's a little bit bigger than the base tiles. The base tiles are let's bring them up here. The base tiles here are 25 centimeters, and we've scaled them up to 27.5 here. They're just ever so slightly scaled up to fit the real world 25 mil dimensions of the game tile. Each one of these squares is 25 millimeters, or almost 1 inch. So once we have that, so that's designed to go onto the surface, and we have these pieces that go on here, and we work on top of a grid with a we'll zoom in here a little bit. The grid spaces are 12.5 millimeters, and a full square is 25 millimeters. So 4 of these little things is one 25 millimeter square. And the way I do it is I just basically, I start off with my map underneath, and I just start dragging and dropping the shapes, and and then just snapping them to the grid. So I use the grid snap to make sure that they all go to the right place. So, and then after that, we count them all up. So I was just literally going through, creating a list and counting them, and I add them into a Google sheet that looks like this. The one we're doing for the magnetized walls are this. So this is the number of pieces that are required. For the classic TT set that I did, I basically calculated out how many walls were in each piece after I had built each map. And then I basically took the max number of pieces that is possible. So this is your worst case scenario, your max combination, and that tells you exactly how many of each piece that you need to print. And that actually, I had little notes in there for how many I was actually printing out to make sure I was printing them all. So that's what kind of one way to keep track of it. So what we're doing is going through each of these maps and building the maps, and then adding in the number of pieces, and then we'll do a final tally, and that'll tell you how many do I need to print. But it'll also show you that you can start by doing mission 1 and mission 2, and you don't need all the pieces. It's not till you get into the a little bit further down into the missions that you start to need more tiles and more pieces. So you can kind of see how much you need to print off to kind of keep going. So that's how we figure that out. So going back here to this, we then take all that information, we stick it here on the side of the sheet here like this, so you can kind of count out how many pieces you need before you want to start setting it up, and then you have this kind of guide that you can follow, and you can build this differently if you want. You can always switch these pieces around. Here, the other thing to consider is that we've kind of tried to one of the things I learned from doing the first set and playing on the first the original Starcrawler set, was some of the rooms can get kind of small. So we want to make sure that we were maximizing play size whenever possible. Like, you don't need a lot of extra space in the exterior spots, and you can see there's extra space around the game board. What you do need is you need some of these bigger rooms where the entrances are. These are more likely where you're likely to have Xenos come in. These rooms here will be a little bit tighter. This one here is very tight, but you can see it's got 2 solid walls, so it doesn't really matter. So anyway, that's how we go about creating the guides. It's not a super fun thing to do, but it's kind of fun to see it all come together. It's a little bit tedious, but once you start adding up the numbers, you start to see the final results. Then it's very satisfying to kind of see it all come together. And also we know that it's a little bit you're doing a big project here, and you want to know how many of these pieces you want to print out to get your rooms and your doors, and you want to know that you've got enough. So this is the kind of hard work of figuring that it is all done for us for the core Starcrawler set, the missions that are in the core rulebook. Okay, so that's our update for today. We'll be continuing to work on this a little bit, just to try to get an idea for what the worst case scenario is. We'll probably do like mission 7 or 9, because they're big 3x3 missions. We'll probably try to do those as well too, and that would kind of give us a pretty good indication of how many pieces that we would need to print to do a full set. Actually, just before we go, I just wanted to point out that we do have more of a final version of the standard 3x3 wall, and it has the door with the glass, with the soda bottle glass inside of it. Works pretty well. And we've been building some bigger rooms and working on a corner magnet. This isn't the one. There's a corner magnet somewhere that has magnets on all the corners, so it's an omnidirectional corner piece that gives a much more rigidity to the set. So that's kind of what we went up to today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you all tomorrow and show you a little bit more of an update then.